Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday night. It's almost 8 p.m. It's been a very mild day today. Surprisingly, between I'd say between 1 and 10 degrees Celsius today. This morning I did a French video regarding the coronavirus. That video I made this morning was addressing more my auntie, which is a white 70-year-old female liberal, Canadian liberal. She voted for our stupid ass president, which was like a huge mistake. But there's like nothing to convince her that whatever they say on TV is the reality. She lives for that. She doesn't understand that what I say is more important and more truth than what the TV says. So anyway, that's not what I want to talk about tonight. Tonight I want to talk about the Brossard experiment. What I did back in 2002. The experiment I did on my car. And back then I had a 1994 Tempo. And on that car, I assembled the Brossard experiment, which was going to be a recreation of the Philadelphia experiment. The whole point of the experiment was to recreate the principle and ideas of what they put on the Philadelphia experiment, except for the Tesla coil and the use of the general theory of relativity. But trust me, and that project, the Philadelphia experiment, nothing that Einstein used was ever, and nothing that Einstein provided was ever in use. All he did was the mathematical math, the math to make the system works. The amount of power needed for the electromagnetic field, the gravity field generators. That's one thing that he worked on. Tesla worked mostly on the huge hidden Tesla coil that was inside in one of the chimney. On the ship, there was two chimney. One of the chimney was fake. It wasn't real. Inside of it was a Tesla coil. Tesla coil that wasn't emitting any sparks. It was all connected to the ship. It was a hard to make a video with the people looking at you. Anyway, that's the past. The Brossard experiment was going to combine radionic technology and magnetic technology and the HDR technology and the delta T and technology all into one. Why do I hear steps behind me and I don't see jack shit? Anyway, it was going to use radionic technology, the delta T technology, HDR technology, and magnetic technology. That was what I took from the project and what I was going to put in that project. So what I did is I surrounded the car with electromagnet. I use speaker wire. I use a speaker wire. Back then I used 18 gauge speaker wire that I wind up 4 times on the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, going back. And the car was surrounded by this. I can cross the street. The car was surrounded by electromagnet. And I put them in a way that the current would circulate around the car like a spiral. You know, it would go from clockwise from every bar from the top, from the bottom to the middle to the top, because there was a lot of bar. And I had a power distribution circuit that had a relay, and that relay was pulsating, and it was only running on 12 volt DC, but all of the current from the 12 volt DC, all the current that the car was generating from the alternators and from the massive amount of battery that I had, were going to a power distribution relay, and that relay was going on and off, click, 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 as fast as it could, and it was generating a current inside the electromagnetic bar. It was going pulse, 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 on and off at a high speed. Today we could use something completely different to do that. You could build yourself a automatic DC relay and have that relay pulse at a current. So it would be a pulse relay, and it would put in that current the amount of pulse you want. You could use that. And after that, after the electromagnet, I had on the distribution console a similar device to what the HDR was. It wasn't an HDR purebred for that purpose, but it was somewhat similar to an HDR. It didn't have the electromagnet. They only had the console with the dials and the headband, and the output was on a Delta T antenna that was inside the car. And the Delta T antenna, it's something that Preston Nichol told me himself to set it up in a way that in his mind it would actually work. And it was just like a little piece of wood, like a 20 centimeters long by 20 centimeter high, whatever size. And oh, that's interesting. The camshaft of a car. Wow, okay. Anyway, so that being said, on the horizontal square of the Delta T antenna bar, it was a twist of transformator wires going all around. One twist that goes all around. And then on the top, the vertical, the east and west vertical mounting of the Delta T antenna, it was just one loop, like 4 loops, and they all come back being connected together. All 3 directions, input and output connected together. And that's where the signal of my thought was going through. This is what I remember. So you have the battery, you have the engine alternators connected to the batteries, from batteries to batteries. The batteries goes to a vacuum light resistor. The whole reason of that box that I had with the light, what you call it, the lamp fuse, whatever. The only reason that was there for, it was to control the current, to make sure that the flow of current would never change. So inside, the guy that made that thing for me probably put some capacitor, and he put the lamp on the exit, and the current was going to the distribution box. Second of all, the time circuit, it wasn't a time circuit per se, it was just like an on and off distribution box. So going from one to the others. And then I had a motor. I had a motor that was mounted in the middle of the car, and that motor, it wasn't a 2-phase motor, that's for sure. It was running on AC, and it was running, that motor was spinning at something close to 13,000 RPM. And I don't even remember if it was a 2-phase motor, but it was mounted dead center in the car, vertical. It was spinning vertically. That too, I had no idea back in days what that was for, but that motor principle, the idea of the principle was it was going to be a gravity field generators. When that motor is spinning at full speed with the current, you could hold it on its side by one finger, and it would hold on your finger. There was so much centrifugal force that it would hold the motor itself in the air. It wouldn't fall on the ground. just like the hard drive motor. So that was mounted straight in the middle of the car. And then after that, you have the control box for like the HDR that was on my lap with the headband around my head, and the power distribution control, the time circuit controls at my disposal. So that's how the Brossard experiment was meant. That's pretty fast explained, but that's as far as I can remember. I had a frequency generators that was connected on the outside of the HDR, the HDR kind of device, and the frequency generator took 9 volts on one side, and then it goes inside the box, and then the output was connected to the Delta T antenna. So the Delta T antenna was getting the current from the HDR, transform it into somewhat of current or whatever frequency it was doing. Something was happening inside that box, and then it was going to the Delta T antenna. My GUTS device that I'm using now, it's just like basically a TOT amplifying machine connected with a super powerful antenna. So I believe that it's going to work pretty well when I'm outside, and when it's not inside the car but outside the car, not shielded. That's one thing that was told by Preston, is that he told me that if you ever make the Delta T antenna, don't use it inside anything. It has to be outside in the wild, like exposed to the outside. So that's what I plan to do with my next time, when the weather permits. Tonight is too cold. I'm not gonna go play outside with my things outside in that cold. But when it gets milder, I'm gonna go look and outside of town and the country for a quiet place to park my car and do my experiment. But I need to find a place that is not anywhere near any outside magnetic field, more like a grid point. So that's our plan right now. So basically, to explain roughly what the Brossard experiment was, we're going to recap: car engine, alternators, alternator batteries, batteries to the power bank to a controlling box, a power controller box that was run by vacuum lamps, the power box to a distribution circuits, the distribution circuits to the motor, to the pulse relay control system, to the electromagnets, and to the HDR type of device. The HDR type of device, headband on my head, control box on my lap, the frequency generators connected to the HDR, and the frequency generator connected to the Delta T antenna that was inside the car. The Delta T antenna that I made was made out of wood, round rod piece of wood, 20 centimeters long by 20 by 20. So those are what I remember. I spent the evening looking to my old pictures, those that I managed to keep for myself and didn't lose from the project, from the army coming and taking everything I had. Because everything that I had were on old files, all document files from the 90s, from the late 90s, and all of the plans that I had were there. But when I did my experiment and the car burned down to the ground, the army came and picked up the car. They came to my house, picked up the entire hard drive with everything that was on it, all my informations regard to the project, everything, all of these things. They took everything, all my papers, everything, to look everywhere. Fortunately for me, back then they didn't know I have storage in the basement where I hid the frequency generators that I managed to take with me, because that wasn't mine back then, and most of the plans that I had about other things. So basically that's what happened in the Brossard experiment. And now I got this young man in Brazil that's wanting to try that experiment. I don't know how technological advanced he is, but he wants to try. So if he wants to retry and do it again, well, I'll try to guide him towards what he can do and try to clear things up and improve the situation. As it comes for the Delta T antenna, it is a really powerful antenna. Depends how it's made. But by itself, if you were using a crystal quartz and you was just using the structure of it, which is two triangle, two pyramid, tetrahedron, one above the others, it would do things by itself. Just the shape of it. That's a tree, by the way. My camera still has a lot of problems. Now we are exactly in a low light environment, but not this morning. I have no idea how to correct this thing on this phone. I will change camera soon. Next week probably. I'm gonna look for a portable camera. That's its only job to do. This phone, the phone technology is just going to hell. So, back on the topic of the coronavirus. Every day I'm doing French videos to try to steer people in a direction that they're not going to be panicked or influenced by the media. And it's really, really, really hard to de-brainwash people from the media when it's called a brainstream media. Brainstream media means every news channel are owned by the government and corporations, and they're part of the New World Order Agenda 2030, and their objective is to control the mind of people, to make them do what they want, to put fear in them, to make them understand that what's going on right now, it's really critical and it's a real panic, and it's a real urgent situation, when most of it is just lies. They say this amount of people die, this amount of people are infected, and so on and so on. Well, I'm sorry, but when SARS was here and the West Nile virus was here and Ebola was here, there were thousands and thousands and thousands of deaths every day, and the media didn't say a single fucking word. They didn't spread a single piece of fear. For me, locally, when there was SARS, they say one time in the news that there was somebody died of SARS not far from where I live. Sadly for them, I had friends that work at that hospital. I went to the hospital and asked them, can I inquire about the person who died from SARS? And the person over there was in charge for 25 years. They say, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I say, well, the news this morning just say that somebody died from SARS this morning at your hospital. And I'm pretty skeptical about this, and wondering why your hospital is not in quarantine and closed down to the people. How I could come in so easily. And this is so nice, garbage everywhere. And the person says, nobody died from SARS here. I don't know what the news told you, but they lied. That was my answer right there. Somebody, a valid answer from a fully certified person that worked there for 25 years, that knows the hospital inside and out. So this is when you know clearly, when you investigate by yourself the fact of what they say, if it's true or not. And 99% of the time, the media and the government will lie to you. They're not going to tell you that there's an asteroid coming that we don't see, and bloody hell. There's an asteroid coming towards Earth, and it's gonna fall and cause a massive event, and everybody that's rich right now are going underground. They're not going to tell you that. Currently right now, across the world, most of the CEO, the president, the owner of multiple companies are disappearing one after the others. They're quitting their job, they're leaving their job, they just disappear. The owner of Harley Davidson, the Walton family, the president of Hewlett Packard, many, many other rich CEOs are disappearing one after the others. Where are they going? Underground. Why did you think in the last 15 years they were digging the mountain and the Ozark and Missouri? There's a underground complex in Ozark and Missouri that is the size of a small town underground, where they are hiding everything. It's high up in the mountain, and it's going to be away from any tsunami tidal wave that's going to come. It's going to be in a safe, protected environment. And then you have the Seed Ark and Norway that is high up in the mountain. That too, it's hidden away from the people. And then the harder base you don't know. The presidential underground base, which they call the continuity of government. That too you don't know about. This is it's another base not far from the Missouri, the Ozark, and it's hidden behind an hotel. And then you have the top of the line underground base, which is the New World Airport in Colorado. That entire airport is covered with Freemason symbolry and New World Order symbolry. And that place has a 52-story underground complex hidden all over the place. It's huge. It's like in the Matrix. It's like Zion. It's enormous. It's there to greet and protect all the world elite. All the world elite are going to hide there. And this is what they're doing right now. Trump and his family are still out there because they're not part of that group. And did anyone see the Clinton lately? No, eh? If anyone knows where the Clintons are, please let me know, because they're the first one inside there. And the Walton family, I'm so amazed about that. When they know that Agenda 21 would be stopped at every corner, and then Jade Elm 13 would be stopped at every corner, and everybody would know about it, they were in such shit ass. They say, okay, time to release another virus. That will work very well. Who else better than to release a virus than Bill Gates, the lover of all vaccine. Bill Gates been working for 15 years. He was sponsoring special labs to reduce the RFID chip, a chip the size of a grain of rice that they wanted to inject us with it. And now they made it so small that it can be inside a vaccine and you will not know about it. Don't ever take a vaccine for that coronavirus. It's nothing more than a common cold. The same cold you catch every fucking years. And like, they're making a drama of that stupid little virus when the regular cold all over the globe kill almost 500,000 people per year. The regular cold that you catch from sneezing to people, or you catch at Walmart because people are pigs at Walmart, well, that regular cold kills 500,000 people a year. And now this stupid little virus there, they're making a mountain out of it and they're scaring the shit out of people. And so far it barely killed 100,000 people. And it's not kill, it's case of infection. There's not many confirmed kills. And whenever there's a kill, like whenever that virus kills someone, you cannot find the fact of where it is and who it is. So there's your information. Sorry I had to make this so long, but I really wanted to inform you all on what's going on and what I'm talking about in my French videos. I thought it would be nice to share it with my English followers as well. So on this note, if I get killed tonight, that's probably because I say too much. And I wish you all the best of luck. As for the Brossard experiment, I will work to it on due times when I have my own time to do. Have a good night, everyone.